This is a big moment for No Tomorrow because now they're up 2 games. One more game win will set them ahead 2 series at the beginning of Phase 2, which again, for No Tomorrow, is gigantic that they had to play in the Crucible last phase. They have picked Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah, that's you know, that's a crazy narrative to even think about too. The fact that they come from the Crucible, they are the bottom 2 of NA. And we had Naventic there as well, but Naventic's a bit of a weird one. If you actually have kept track of the history of heroes, they're kind of like, I can see them being the best or the worst in a lot of situations. But No Tomorrow was the one where we're like, they're going to struggle, but how far? And then that they come out and that they're putting up convincing games here against Freedom, which according to a lot of the community too, picking up Cure, the Solo League monster, like that's done. That roster grows, right? And then to struggle immediately into No Tomorrow, it says something. What? I don't know. We're
still figuring that one out. Don't ask that question.
I'm not the translator here. You know, I'm just merely a messenger.
Tomb of the Spider Queen for game number 4. Team Freedom played this yesterday versus Even Death. No Tomorrow did not play this battleground yesterday. Expecting
to see some Gul'dan's game coming in. He's got to get some kind of pressure high up. He's been high priority for both of these teams just in general. It's one of the best maps for him. Expect a heavy argument into it. And with the Uther ban, No Tomorrow hovering over the Ariel, wanting to remove the Holy Trinity off the table. She is the only element that 100% has to exist in that strategy. Which is why that's the most well-thought ban there.
What do Freedom want? Genji's up. Dahaka's up. Nubarak's up.
I would like the Genji. If you're not going to go Genji, focus on Macro. So Genji is, in my opinion, the objectively the most impactful pick you can take here, but it doesn't accent anything on the map. And Macro is so focused on Tomb. So I either go Genji and I rely on just skill, or I go into Macro focus and make sure I win there. If I'm going in the Macro, I don't heavy commit. I just do something like, here's my Anub pick. I'll take that there. And then later I'm going to try and abuse the fact that I know you want to take my Genji. Freedom goes with it. They're going to focus on that. There's the Gul'dan.
Pretty fast.
Anub 100% in this rotation now. Not only does it deal well with the Genji, but you're afraid of the anti-mage. They don't want to feel the choke. I can see the argument for that one because of Gul'dan.
And Gul'dan.
Yeah, Gul'dan is the one variable that makes me go, I need a support that's good with Gul'dan, because Gul'dan without a Gul'dan support feels really bad, man.
He feels the pain of not having it. Innervate is just so good with Malfurion, or with Gul'dan, and his ability to keep Gul'dan topped up so that he can more freely life tap, because he is so reliant on being able to constantly just chuck out your spells.
But that puts a really, like the fact that Nubarak and Genji are available on the opposite side of the table on the same team is, again, because Genji doesn't accent the map, I would be like, oh, I might be able to get out macroed. You committed to the Gul'dan, but now I have an Nubarak and a Genji, both very quick, decisive, and nearly impossible to mess up my initiation with a lot of bursts into both heroes that are immobile, vulnerable to bursts. And so I'm not saying that they can't, it's just that it's one of those things where it's No Tomorrow is essentially banking a lot on being effective according to the map, whereas Freedom is just going, we're going to win these fights because we have such easy initiation.
Yeah, we'll probably see these next few picks for No Tomorrow be a lot of front line, being able to protect now that Gul'dan Malfurion core.
The Dahaka ban was not something I would have thought.
I did not think so either.
Just mainly because it's not impossible to see Freedom move in that direction, but also more of it would work great into No Tomorrow. You want macro game, you want one of the most... Gul'dan is a part of your 4. You're going to be impactful with your 4-man there. So then why not make sure you have a high-end bottom in solo, which either means they're going Leo, or they're going Sonya, is like the first thing I think when I see those two. Leo makes the most sense with the Gul'dan and the map. So then now if I'm Team Freedom, I go, I know you're going Leoric, so then what is my trade up into you? I mean, if you want to get real weird, Sonya with Leap. It's an easy, even trade, and it complements all the team fighting weaknesses of No Tomorrow and team fighting strengths of you. I mean, it's one of those bold suggestions, but when you actually put 2 and 2 together, it's a T3 option, but it very much is a viable one.
Green main ban for Team Freedom now. No Tomorrow. They get Leo. Now it could still be Sonya. knowing that it is Equinox. But I still think it's going to be Leoric, especially after the Dahaka ban. Tychus, the first pickup, though.
Another warrior. Their 4-man. Stitches is available and an option. If they don't go into the Stitches, Diablo is what I would expect. I think Diablo will kind of meet, especially for North America, that other hero. Where Europe has gone, we think Stitches is the warrior behind a Nubarak. I think NA, at least for now, out of the 3 teams we managed to see play, 4 words are hard. Numbers are even harder. But they've shown that Diablo is, in fact, North America's answer. For Freedom. I want to see, again, the trade into bottom. You don't know who it is, but you can Leo. Does Leo work? Not really. Nothing about Leoric feels good into No Tomorrow's comp.
D.Va again.
They go
Zebo
for the D.Va.
is not what I was expecting. I was expecting Lunar. They played it yesterday on Tomb. But D.Va again.
It's amazing to see, and there's the Kerrigan. The late game Kerrigan pickup, baby! Oh man, this is No Tomorrow will run it on any map it's even semi-viable. Tomb, Dragon, Infernal, they don't care.
Early versus late. Although No Tomorrows also have Gul'dan, so he'll scale well into later. But with Nazeebo, now Team Freedom, man.
I'm giving it to No Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, I thought Team Freedom was the better team fighter. That's already been shown just not true. It was the minute they lost momentum, a lot of things fell apart for them, so I'm no longer convinced. It was just we had a long streak of nice team fighting come out from them. Their confidence was a bit higher than we would have expected. At this point, you pick a late game strategy against a team that is typically very weak into the early game already, and now you give Equinox his iconic hero. It feels like they're a better team overall, and so at least if they displayed that, and it counters the early game of your opponents. Unless Genji counter-initiates on Kerrigan every single time perfectly, I just see it going over to No Tomorrow.
It's crazy to see that Freedom drafts Genji and Nubarak. They draft these heroes that allow them to rotate very quickly, try to get picks. But now they have Nazeebo, which sort of just feels like a hindrance to them in his ability to deal damage and go along with that. And then now No Tomorrow seeing this gets Kerrigan. They have Kerrigan and Diablo together to be able to synergize really well. You have Malfurion roots underneath that. And then Gul'dan, who still is consistent damage, Tychus too, but that only gets stronger and scarier too.
Yeah, I think you know, the easiest way to kind of understand if that seems confusing, you'd be like, why, you know, what is Nazeebo? Why does that seem weird and counterintuitive? The most drastic example of that would be like an Asmo, right? Like an Asmo late game stack, and everybody on your team can just one shot blow everybody up, dominate, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna last pick Asmo now. I'm gonna play for the late game, boys. Like, hopefully you don't feed. We'll figure it out when we get to the later stages of the game. That's what it was. Is we have the offense, we have the early game, we've got the kills, and hopefully Nazeebo's gonna make it onto the late game. You know, again, it's not that it's impossible. It's just counterintuitive to what the first part of the draft indicates.
I'm really interested in the laning phase for both of these teams too, now that we see Kerrigan. There's not, on either side really, the very standard Dahaka, the Leoric, Ragnaros would have been before. Now he's just like, you don't want to talk about Ragnaros. There's just not really seeing that. Maybe D.Va on Team Freedom side, but I'm interested to see how the laning phase goes. I think we're going to see a really awesome integrated laning phase. So let's get into the game. We'll see if Team Freedom can tie us up once again 2-2, or if No Tomorrow takes it home.
An interesting lane matchup is what you suggest here, huh?
That's what I'm thinking. Well, No Tomorrow, I think, is going to be just trying to get a lot of picks between their Diablo and Kerrigan. However they can set that up. Malfurion too. Team Freedom probably going to play extra safe because of that.
Already, Kerrigan, a bit different of a build than you normally see out of her. It's going to go with the Sharpened Blades, 25% more damage onto the stun itself for her. So she is not going to be able to get the 10% Leapfrog Dream. It's not 10. What is it actually?
10.
Is it 10? Full 10? Full 10 reset Dream and just leapfrog it out. It's now very combo-centric, very follow-up centric. So Diablo goes in, combo, combo. And actually, if they've trained this properly, Kerrigan shouldn't combo. She actually pulls her E later. You use this as a Kerrigan Tyrande, or like a Tyrande. So she goes in, the flip target, you leap on top of them, and then you set the stun right behind Diablo. He suplexes in, and immediately the blades go up. If they manage to survive, then you rake them back.
It's been a while since I've seen this level 1 talent for Kerrigan, but there are some different options that we see at level 4 to go along with this. So we'll wait and see what level 4 is. But I don't think it'll be clean kill now, not getting siphoning impact at level 1. There's the first combo. Hits Nasmus, roots underneath, immediate to follow up. Trying to reduce the damage. Nasmus gets away in pilot mode, but it will destroy a mech.
Jason, wow, the combo's up in time for Peel too. I didn't think he had his, his gap closer up at that early, but he actually did still have it. I thought for sure it may be the end of him, but timing it, dodging the impale from Zugrug. Here, there's going to be flip 1. It's no way he should survive this. Wow, the fact that Equinox actually got that combo off on a hero like Genji, forcing Cure to maybe show some respect here to what used to be known as the Kara God.
Danger, Cure Robinson. There was Rhaegar up in the top for Team Freedom, but rotating back down, I don't know if we'll see that continue, but he does have Wolf Run this time, so has that increased movement speed bonus instead of having Lightning Bond this time around. So it may be that he just wants to try to safely lane and go back, knowing that a lot of the picks are going to be, so far at least, have been focused more between mid and bot.
When it comes to those gems, though, turning them in, it's all about timing the cycle of death timers for No Tomorrow. You just go, wait for a kill, wait for a kill, wait for a kill. Okay, now execute and focus on the objective. Whereas Team Freedom is going to be more of like, hopefully we can bait them to a gank on the top half or bottom half, and then we commit a turn in the downtime. They aren't going to be able to keep the Diablo Kerrigan pressure away, especially with the roots of Tiger JK as a follow-up. He went out a bit far, but nobody's there for the punish, at least not with Nasmus having to tap.
It's been nice for Nasmus to be the solo laner so far for Team Freedom in the bottom lane. The fact that he has that extra health bar, even if the mech's taken out, usually in that amount of time, being able to run away, but that's not guaranteed. Even using the mech this time, if Diablo goes in and they can burn down that mech, there's roots, there's still even a Kerrigan combo to follow up too. So it's not a guarantee, but at least it is a safer target for Team Freedom to have in that lane.
Gonna try and get a gank up on bottom once more. Actually, it's one of the weird circumstances. Tiger JK should open with a root on every gank that they have. He is the highest probability of ever stopping Nasmus or Kier in the 2-1-2 that we see it from them, to stop the bleeding. That's why they're trying to run this 2-1-2 for Freedom. It's the safest laning you can. They gank top, you push bot, vice versa. And just opening with that root, because then if Genji looks to try and use any mobility, he can actually hit it halfway through, just set it behind them, then look for the gank, force riskier steps, and I hope that we see that adjustment from them. It doesn't make their ganks easy by any means, but it would be at least more realistic for them to hit that combo.
Combo hits, but Casanova also dove in, so a little anti-synergy coming out from No Tomorrow in game number 4. And maybe feeling the pressure that the fact that, yes, No Tomorrow got one pick earlier on, but Freedom has stabilized since then and does have a lead in the amount of gems that have been turned in. Although, with Casanova turning these in, it'll be back to close. Yeah,
the 2-1-2 is honestly awesome. It's such a smart response for Freedom. They don't have the comp to make it a problem. Typically, you need at least one self-sustainer in both of the 2s, and then you need a very good siege wave clear in both the 2s, but they just don't have that in the comp. Nazebo is about the best siege they have, and everybody else is just kind of like, we'll hang out in lane. They've got enough in the sustain department, which is why Freedom isn't really punishing this. It's just because they committed to the team fight 1 through 9 with the Genji and noob rotation, but then they were afraid of the Kerrigan more. It just shows that they don't have a window to come back outside of sneaking and turning, which conveniently they've managed to make happen.
Yeah, their ability to have that 2-1-2 and watch where the ganks come in from No Tomorrow, it keeps them safe in the ganks, and it allows them to turn in somewhere, wherever their opponents are not. That has netted Team Freedom the first web weavers of the game. They also have their level 7. There comes a charge. It is Cure, so he's got
Equinox.
So many escapes.
He had a lot of pressure onto him, but nobody's going to move in for that damage. Looks like this is going to be a 3-2 split for the members of No Tomorrow on the defense. They do have terrible anti-siege outside of Gul'dan, so whatever lane he's in, it's going to be very easy to clear, but every other one is going to be watch the melees plus Tychus, try and get rid of some of this. And that's going to be Freedom trying to abuse that here on bottom. The defense matrix is there. Quarterback is online, but not in range to be able to get the damage.
Team Freedom starting to get further and further ahead in experience into the towers that they're taking down. Web Weavers have nearly been dealt with. No Tomorrow's ability to get aggressive in the bottom did push back Team Freedom there. Gul'dan goes down.
That's a nice pickup. The fact that they're even getting kills, again, pre-10 into a Kerrigan composition is very uncommon. So that is really nice for them. Even getting the structure siege pressure up onto top. No Tomorrow, though, we gave it to them up in the draft, the early game with that Kerrigan rotation. They are losing in all the departments that they're supposed to be winning. As all comes down to the next turn in. If Freedom can stall it out, hit 10, and turn in, that is a huge window. But if they let the turn in go over to No Tomorrow, and then No Tomorrow gets the fight before the 10 marks hit on the side of Freedom, it may not be, you know, it could be the end of the series. And here's now the turn in. So now No Tomorrow, expect just blind 5-man aggression.
There it is. Again, the combo with Casanova goes after Team Freedom. They've nearly burnt down the mech, but even after that, Pilot Diva would hop out.
Man, they're going to split up. They're trying to, okay, they're making top be more value by getting rid of the wave. Now they're going back to mid with a 4-man. Okay, this makes more sense. It's just because they have so bad siege, splitting up doesn't help them. They are good as a death ball. And now Tyka's collapsing in. Perfect timing here. Making a lot of sense. Sidewall is going to be dropped.
Catches them up in experience, which is very important because Team Freedom are so close to Heroics. They immediately get theirs.
It's going to be Maelstrom. Odin and Napoc. Nobody's taking anything different. For Diva, we got the big shot. Genji's questioning what he should go. Team Freedom last time into the Apocalypse, it was the X-Strike, so by the same logic. Dansky, the Horrify, but Ancestral's there. That's a lot of resources on the side of Freedom.
It is. There goes the Apocalypse too. Casanova diving in to go once again back after Twilight Dream to follow up. Hits several of the members of Team Freedom. Kyr's gonna come in.
Oh,
nice
man.
self-destruct and Dragon Blade. Casanova trying to get Kyr away from his teammate. It may cost him his life and the 19 gems, but at the very least, it did save the rest.
Yeah, it did. That was such a beautiful self-destruct by Nasmus, and you see him throwing down the thrusters, getting a bit of poke out. Not even gonna drop mech form, but they have 61 gems. Mech form is deterred. Kyr. Man, he's just playing with fire.
Hellfire from Gul'dan. Speaking of that, almost done with his level 1 talent. So is Dash, nearly done. And Widowmakers, all very close in those level 1 questing talents.
Nazebo lacking the level 1. That doesn't feel very good. All the others, Gul'dan, I don't know. Gul'dan is it's a hard one. He gets really impactful, but only in rare circumstances does his level 1 become a huge problem. Completing that up, but if we do see Widowmaker there for the Nazebo locked in, Freedom will be one step closer to the huge power spike. But No Tomorrow, they picked an early game comp. They did decent with it in certain moments, but the one thing that is very apparent, they have not ran Kerrigan Diablo too frequently.
I agree.
There has been about 3 combos where it's just not been on the same page. And I hate to break it to them, but we're not in the old school Tyrande meta. You can't get away with just blind picking comps like that and actually messing up the... Like, the only reason Dignitas is a world-class team is because every time the hook's there, you know the damage is there.
Yeah, everything is perfectly synchronized from Dignitas, but at the same time, this is a new roster, Equinox new to the team. There goes Casanova diving in. Apocalypse is there too, but Cocoon has hit Kerrigan, and self-destruct stands on the point. No Tomorrow has to disengage for now.
They're all torn. Look at everybody completely split up. The combo goes down, but Equinox is already dead. Now Kyr with the Dragon's Blade will be able to get Casanova. There's one pick for him. The Horrify buys time. Ancestral drop just to be safe, and now Nasmus out of Pilot drops a big shot. Jason's scooting on out here, but that should be 5-4-0 here for Team Freedom.
Yeah, the communication now for No Tomorrow does seem to be not working out for them so far with this combination. Team Freedom starting to find their footing at the exact same time we would expect from Team Freedom to find their footing too.
Everything's back to normal here. Kerrigan's losing the late game. Freedom looking dominant once the 13 mark happens. You know, they're like, guys, let's fight. And then they're just going to win. Stacking a boss and a web weaver behind it is just merely the whipped cream. Just soaking up on top of there.
Cocoon was very well done for Team Freedom. Cocoon, along with the self-destruct too, forced No Tomorrow all to abandon Equinox and then getting that first kill, even bringing out Maelstrom. So now that's still down for 25 more seconds. Another Cocoon for Team Freedom, setting up with a zombie wall. Zugrug's there too for an Impale. Collusion jumps in. Tiger J goes down. And Team Freedom have started the staggered deaths for No Tomorrow.
I like the fact that No Tomorrow was willing to sacrifice the mouth. It's too early to risk Twilight Dream, to risk any resources, just accept that he's dead, wait it out a bit later. So now in 10 seconds, he'll be back. That's not going to be the game. This keep was going to be dead, Malf or not. They go in without Malfuri and Casanova. 5 versus 4. They try and force the fight. He's going to be the first to fall. There is no Devil's Due, or excuse me, the Souls. He's dead forever. And with trees down, this should be it. Freedom can actually end the game.
Yeah, where is it? What might have just been the keep now? Team Freedom all standing strong. Tiger JK's back, but there was still Ancestral. Cure and Friends taking out the core of No Tomorrow means that Team Freedom will be able to tie up our series once again, and we are going to game number 5.
What did I just witness, Gilly?
The thing to me about Kerrigan for No Tomorrow is their Kerrigan and Noob was really good yesterday. It was especially good. So it does seem to just be Diablo plus Kerrigan. Obviously, we knew that synergy for teams who made roster swaps, it was going to be hit or miss while they figure out their compositions. But in this case, synergy for the members of Team Freedom works out a lot better for them. We knew their Genji and D.Va together was excellent, and it has gotten Team Freedom to catch back up 2-2 in the series.
It just makes that game number 5 that much harder. I feel like once I feel like I can learn like the teams, their thoughts, their strengths, both of these teams have broken that, rebuilt it in this series, and then it's still not holding true. So just not even stable in the play, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That level of diversity in theory should actually be a good thing. It's just, it's so uncommon to see that from these lower end teams. I'm struggling to figure it out, and my brain's hurting. I'm gonna get an answer eventually, but for now, I'm just kind of lost in limbo.
Yeah, we're sort of figuring things out as the players, as you guys are too. But the exciting thing is game number 5 is always amazing. So let's go to the break. When we come back, we'll have game number 5.